Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone.
Chased down by Beal in the corner for three, gets fouled and hits.
Welcome to DC.
Walker tied him out.
You know where you're at, the USA cap. You're taking it slightly, I'm taking it slightly. Now how you gon' act on you gon' be right back. When we gon' be right here, we gon' be right here. We ain't going nowhere. Welcome to DC.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Nati with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And yes, I'm here again. I know you guys are probably getting sick and tired of my face right now, but the content has to keep on rolling. It is training camp. Football is officially here for our Washington Commanders, and I'm here to break down day one of the Commanders training camp period. Before getting into everything that's happened on the field on Tuesday, I do want to get to some of this stuff that's still lingering in the discussions online among the fan base and also even on the radio. First and foremost, the fight song discussion is still raging on, courtesy of 106.7, courtesy of everybody else out there on social media, after the Commanders basically posted two versions of an updated version of their old fight song. And I sort of delved into this on the live stream earlier this week, but really quickly, I'm with version 1, even though Fight for the Commanders does sound kind of weird. It definitely sounds better than Legends on a Mission. That is corny as corny can be, guys. Like corn on the cob type of corny. Like that, no. The other point that I wanted to make, the All of Washington part in the third stanza, man. I get it that you're trying to push inclusivity in this fan base or in this organization, but the original reference was for the players, right? So Sons of Washington does make sense. It wasn't for the coaching staff, it was for the players when you consider everything that the song is about and consider the lyrics that come before and come after. So it is what it is, but I prefer version 1, and I just want to push that discussion out of the way because I want to get to some more training camp talk. So the Commanders are donning Guardian cap covers over their helmets. You might have seen it through the clips that have been circulating on social media and from reporters of this team. This was based off of a recent agreement between the NFL and NFLPA to essentially enforce offensive linemen or allow for offensive linemen, defensive linemen, tight ends, and linebackers to wear these special paddings throughout the training camp period, but really in practices through the second preseason game. So we're going to see a lot more of these protective coverings. I know they look really weird. I know a lot of people on social media have talked about how weird they look, but at the end of the day, I'm all for player safety. And even if this helps just a little bit, I think it's a good thing. And I don't think it really bothers anybody besides maybe looking a little weird to fans. But then again, it's training camp, it's practice, it's not the regular season. And I don't even think they're going to wear it during a preseason game. So it is what it is. Again, I mentioned this in the preview video. Ashburn, VA is the home of the Washington Commanders training camp in 2022. And not only is it the home, the Commanders have a completely different system in terms of fan attendance. Now they have their own draft lottery, so only a certain number of fans can come in every single day. The big event is August 6th, of course, like I said in the preview, at FedEx Field. Just have to get your tickets online. They're completely free. We're going to be there. The DMV Sports Zone crew is going to be there. I hope you guys are there as well. But yeah, and then lastly, again, I mentioned this in the preview, but in terms of injuries, there are several players that are on the PUP list right now. Chase Young, with the knee injury that he sustained last season, right? The torn ACL and the multiple surgeries that he had. Logan Thomas is also out with a knee injury that he sustained last year against the Raiders, I believe. Tyler Larson is still rehabbing from his torn Achilles. Swing tackle Cornelius Lucas has a non-football injury, but he's out. And last but not least, Chase Roulier has a fractured fibula, but Coach Rivera did again say that he's most likely to return the soonest out of all these players I just mentioned. Now on to what we saw on the field and what even Coach Rivera and the players talked about in their pressers. So first off, shout out to everyone, really everybody among the beat reporters of the Commanders, because they post a lot of tweets, they do a lot of reports on Washington training camp, not just this year, but in years past. So shout out to everyone, but especially shout out to Washington Commanders staff writer Zach Selby, ESPN Nation Commanders reporter and friend of the channel, Mr. John Keim, and another friend of the channel and Washington Times Commanders beat reporter Matthew Peras as well for all this information. that I'm about to relay to you guys. So first off, the offense looked pretty decent. Charles Leno and Dax Milne were on the field today after missing a good part of the spring with injuries. Brian Robinson looked very fluid out there in some of the side drills. Even Coach Rivera talked about how, and I and the DMVSportsZone crew that was there during OTAs also talked up how Brian Robinson looks super big out there on the field. He looks like he's going to be a solid running back for us. And Coach Rivera talked up his super effective running between the tackles, and basically talked up Brian Robinson during his presser. So I'm looking forward to seeing more Robinson as training camp goes along, as we see some preseason reps as well out of Brian Robinson. And yeah, also 3 primary tight ends right now with Logan out. John Bates, Cole Turner, Sammis Reyes also got a lot of work in. Makes sense, right? I mean, who else is going to replace Logan Thomas? It has to be a John Bates, maybe a Cole Turner, or Sammis Reyes. But even backup tight end Curtis Hodges did some nice things in practice as well. Matthew Perez said he most notably caught a bullet pass by Carson Wentz. You can take that for what it's worth, but it did happen. We also saw a little bit of the Wentz-Terry connection, which I know a lot of people wanted earlier in the offseason during OTAs via a contract extension that would have happened earlier. But alas, it happened June 28th, I believe, June 29th, maybe. Terry extension. This is our first real sighting of a Carson Wentz, Terry McLaurin connection on the field in Ashburn, and it looked good. And Terry was, of course, as always, very smooth with his route running, soft hands, and Carson Wentz was throwing the ball, and it looked like a pretty good connection. I'm looking forward to seeing how that connection grows as training camp goes along, as preseason games come, and of course, as the regular season games come as well. Terry McLaurin most notably beat a defensive back in coverage easily for a bomb pass by Carson Wentz. Shocker. I mean, Terry McLaurin beats DBs all the time, right? In regular season games, let alone practice. So that's not a surprise. Andrew Norwell did some good things in pass protection as well, most notably stopping one Casey Toohill in his tracks on a pass rush move. It is Casey Toohill. Again, you can take this for what it's worth, but Andrew Norwell did show some good things in practice today in the short period of practice that they had. Dax Milne, we also had a sighting as well from Dax Milne outside of his off-the-field shenanigans that he's most known for right now among the NFL fan base, but he was pretty good out there on the field. And honestly, I believe Coach Rivera even talked about this. Milne can earn a bottom wide receiver spot on this depth chart, right? Like outside of the Terry McLaurin, obviously, the Curtis Samuel, outside of the Jahan Dotson, and maybe De'Ami Brown if you want to include him in the top 4 receivers. I mean, you have a battle between a Cam Sims, right? A Dax Milne, even Kelvin Harmon. Ron Rivera threw his name out there. So it should be interesting to see how many receivers they keep, first off, and second off, what receivers they keep among that group. Another thing, Jaden Mckissick ran upfield pretty well, so it doesn't look like his injury last year nor his crazy contract situation from this offseason is hampering him at all. Looks like Jaden Mckissick of old, and I think that means very good things for our Washington Commanders. Tony Gibson, speaking of running backs, was on the side field today. He suffered a hamstring injury during OTAs, and that's still sort of hampering him right now, which is kind of worrisome, right, given our injury past with these players, given Antonio Gibson injury last year with turf toe, right, plaguing him throughout the entire season. Obviously, Curtis Samuel as well with his small injury in June of 2021 that ended up being effectively a season-ending injury. So that's a little worrisome. But Rivera said that we should expect to see Gibson ramp things up as the training camp days go along. So hopefully that happens and he's not out for too much longer. And Jahan Dotson, last but not least when it comes to the offense, continues to catch the ball quietly per John Keim, exemplifying smooth hands out there on the field. So you guys saw my Jahan Dotson video and how high I feel about him. I continue to feel that way. And he's showing nothing on the field for me to not feel that way about him. Now the defense. The starting defensive line group with Chase Young out was Montez Sweat on one side, on one end, Deron Payne, even with his contract situation. So again, I said this in previous live streams, but kudos to Deron Payne for still playing, for not holding out, for doing some things out there on the field when a lot of players in today's NFL love to hold out. So you got to give him some credit in that aspect, right? Even if the writing's on the wall when it comes to his time here in DC. Stud Jonathan Allen, of course, was in the interior as well. And then James Smith-Williams was manning Chase's spot. And James Smith-Williams did some good things for us last year. But it should be interesting to see, James Smith-Williams getting some work, F.A. Obata as well. And seeing how that position on the field pans out with Chase Young maybe missing some time in the preseason. Hopefully not into the regular season, but I kind of expect it at this point. We'll see. Another piece of news on the defense. So, I mean, is it really news? Troy Apke missed an easy pick off of Heineke. I am shocked. Flabbergasted. Like, no way, Jose, that happened, right? Like, I mean, I could never imagine Troy Apke not catching an easy pick. I mean, it's like, man, bro, like, really? No, but all jokes aside, it did happen. And, I mean, Troy Apke was signed to a 1-year extension, which I noted in the preview video, mostly because of special teams and him being a special teams ace. So I really don't put too much into that situation. And then Benjamin St. Juice, I do put a lot into this situation. Broke up a pass that went through to Cam Sims, has, again, as I also mentioned in the preview, has, I think, solidified that nickel cornerback spot on this team. He's getting all the reps in the slot, and alongside Kendall Fuller on the outside and William Jackson on the other side. So it should be interesting because if Benjamin St. Juice lives up to all of his potential when it comes to his athletic attributes, when it comes to his feel for the game, his natural instincts, and the defensive coaching that he's getting right now, I think he could be a solid cornerback on this team. And who knows, maybe down the line he could be our best quarterback on this team if he continues to progress and doesn't get the consistent, injuries, the consistent concussions, right, that he had last year. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see Benjamin St. Juice in his second season, how he pans out. 'Cause I'm excited to see what he does for us. And then last but not least on the defense, Bobby McCain and Cameron Curl, no surprise, were indeed the starting free safety and strong safety respectively out there on the field. But another, I think, interesting nugget from day one of training camp, Percy Butler, Derek Force were rotating in as a third safety and a lot of three safety looks on this defense. So it should be interesting to see how the 4th round pick from this year, and I believe the 5th round pick from last year, I might be wrong on that. I'm sorry, guys, but either way, mid to late round guys, it's going to be interesting to see which one of those guys becomes that third safety in three safety looks. And I'm excited, man. I think Percy Butler is going to play a lot. I mean, it was always interesting to me to hear how Ron Rivera, like moments after essentially we drafted Percy Butler, was already talking him up and talking about how big of a role he's going to play on our team. And I'll never forget that, right? When projecting what Percy Butler will be for us this season. But some other interesting notes to close things off. Carson Wentz in his presser admitted that he's still getting to know his teammates right now, which is fair, right? He just got here. But that he's learning more about their individual tendencies and play styles as the days move along. So I'm excited to see what Carson Wentz can bring to this team. You guys know my doubts about Carson Wentz. You'll know more about my doubts by watching this last video that I'm going to have up on Thursday as well. But it's going to be interesting to see, what he brings for us. I think he is a gunslinger, and I think that's going to matter in this offense. And he's going to be able to stretch the field when you have a Terry McLaurin, when you have a Jahan Dotson, when you have a Curtis Samuel. So, healthy Curtis Samuel, fingers crossed. Also, this team is really shying away from all the playoff questions at their press conferences. It was Coach Rivera on Tuesday, Carson Wentz on Wednesday. Whenever they're asked about the playoffs or whether this is playoff or bust for this team, they don't want to answer that. They essentially just want to say, we just got to win games. And I respect them for that. I understand where they're coming from with that, because why add on expectations for this team, right? When literally we saw last year what expectations happened or what they did for this team among the fan base and really among the team itself, right? Because the players themselves were talking up their expectations. So I understand what they were trying to do there. Coach Rivera's continued to make Carson feel that he's wanted in DC. So I think that's very important, given the fact that Carson Wentz's mental state has been in question over the last couple of years because of the fact that he's been pretty rocky on the field. But that, I think, him feeling like he's wanted is going to be crucial. It's not the only thing that's going to contribute to this or the only way this happens, but it's going to be crucial to his ability any sort of ability to will our team to victories this season. And then last but not least, when asked about the Commanders having less OTA practices as a punishment handed out by the NFL that stemmed from the latter's belief that these practices were too physical, Coach Rivera simply but importantly said, "I disagree with their assessment." So this is, I think, kind of interesting. Coach Rivera, I believe, was also fined $100,000 as well for this offense. So he's understandably mad about the entire situation, but at this point, all we can do, and I know all Coach Rivera thinks we can do, is just practice as safe as possible and move forward. And with that being said, that is the end of my day one recap of our Washington Commanders at 2022 training camp in Ashburn, Virginia. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the DMV Sports Zone channel. We like to post fire content like this as much as possible. Also, go follow our Twitter page at DMV Sports Zone, our Instagram page, all lowercase DMV Sports Zone, and our TikTok, DMV Sports Zone as well. This has been a great one. I think Abdullah has you with day 2. I think he does tomorrow. So, or whenever you're going to watch this, he's going to have you for day 2 on Thursday night after Thursday's practices. So, yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and see you on the next one. Peace.